5 names, 5 legends simply gone. No farewell tour, no grace period. They were just erased. Late last night, while America slept, Team USA dropped a bomb that shook the entire WNBA universe to its core. As the dust settled, basketball fans everywhere shared one terrifying thought. Did Team USA just betray its own legends? Here is exactly what happened. This story goes way deeper than any headline you have seen today. This is not just roster news, it is a total revolution. Coach Cheryl Reeve made the call without hesitation, without remorse, and without looking back. 5 players, gold medalists who sacrificed everything for that red, white, and blue jersey, were told their services were no longer needed. Chelsea Gray, the floor general and maestro, the point guard who controlled games like a chess master moving pieces. Gone. Brittany Griner, a global icon who survived the unimaginable and returned to dominate the court once more. A center whose presence changed the game. Cut. Veterans who bled for this program. Athletes who answered every call. Warriors who never questioned their commitment. All of them suddenly cut. No press conference, no respectful farewell tour, just a phone call in the dead of night. This part is making everyone lose their minds. This was not about poor performance, injuries, or bad attitudes. It was about something much bigger than that. This was about one name, one player, one decision that changed everything. Caitlin Clark. Now, before you react or start typing angry comments, let me explain why this move is either the smartest play Team USA ever made or the biggest mistake in American basketball history. Because there is no middle ground here. Team USA did not just add a player, they rebuilt their entire philosophy around her skills. Her shooting, her vision, and her gravity. She stretches defenses in ways this program has never seen before. Suddenly, the veteran legends did not fit. That is the cold, brutal truth nobody wants to say. But I am going to say it. Team USA looked at Chelsea Gray, a brilliant passer and proven champion, and said, "You are just too slow." They looked at Brittany Griner, a dominant symbol of resilience and a matchup nightmare, and said, "The game has passed you by." They looked at Olympic gold medalists and told them, "Your legacy does not protect you anymore." This is unprecedented. In the history of USA basketball, we have never seen a purge this savage and calculated. The reaction was absolute chaos. Social media exploded instantly. Former players came out swinging as analysts took sides. Many fans call this a betrayal of everything Team USA stands for. Others are calling it the smartest rebuild in the history of international basketball. Here is what nobody is talking about yet. The real reason behind these cuts is deeper than what you have heard. A secret meeting happened 3 weeks ago. It was a conversation between coaches and basketball executives that changed everything. What was said in that room will shock you. This was not just about Caitlin Clark. This was about something Team USA has been afraid to admit, something that could cost them everything. In Part 2, I am going to reveal exactly what that something is. 3 weeks ago, a closed-door meeting, no cameras, no reporters, featured one terrifying presentation that changed the entire future of American basketball. The title of that presentation? The End of Dominance? That is right. Team USA, the most dominant force in women's basketball, finally admitted what they have been hiding for years. The rest of the world has caught up. They are getting better, faster, and hungrier than ever. While Team USA was busy celebrating past glories and handing out roster spots based on reputation, countries like France were constantly evolving and getting better. Australia was adapting. Spain was scheming. Belgium was rising. Suddenly, those comfortable victories were not so comfortable anymore. Remember the 2024 Olympics? Team USA won gold. The headlines celebrated, and everyone went home happy. But behind the scenes, there was panic. Margins were shrinking, games were getting tighter, and the fear in their opponents was gone. International teams were not just competing, they were believing. That belief is more dangerous than any individual player. So, American basketball did something they had never done before. They commissioned a brutal, honest analysis of where they stood against the rest of the world. The results were devastating. In transition offense, Team USA ranked 4th. In three-point shooting, they were 6th. On defense, they did not even crack the top three. The report concluded with one haunting sentence. If current trends continue, Team USA is headed for a massive loss on the international stage within the next 4 years. We are talking 2028, the Los Angeles Olympics. Picture the nightmare. Team USA dropping the gold on home soil while the whole world watches. That report hit Cheryl Reeves' desk like a grenade. She knew right then that everything had to change. Not a slow evolution or minor tweaks. We are talking a revolution. A total, ground-up reconstruction of the team. That meant making brutal calls, choices that would end careers, wreck friendships, and turn icons into casualties. Here is where things get intense. As the coaches mapped out the future, they asked one question that changed the entire game. Who actually fits the modern game? Not who earned it or who paid their dues, just who fits. They scrutinized every single player in the pool. Every metric mattered: shooting, speed, basketball IQ. One name kept showing up at the top of every single category. Caitlin Clark. Her shooting is elite. She has the kind of range that pulls defenses way past their comfort zones. Her passing is generational. She sees plays before they happen, threading needles that most players cannot even find. Her basketball IQ is off the charts. She understands spacing, timing, and rhythm in ways you just cannot teach. Here is the exact stat that sealed the deal. In games where Caitlin Clark ran the offense, her team scored 14 more points in transition than their opponents. 14 points. In the world of international ball, where single possessions decide everything, that number is absolutely absurd. So, the coaching staff finally made their choice. They would build around Clark not just as an addition or a future prospect, but as the engine. The entire system would flow directly through her. The spacing would be built for her. The pace would match her unique vision. But building fresh meant tearing down the past. That is when the phone calls began. Chelsea Gray got hers at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Brittany Griner got hers 11 minutes later. One by one, legends were told their era was officially over. The reactions varied. Some were graceful, some were absolutely furious, and some just went completely silent. But one reaction from a cut player is sparking a firestorm nobody saw coming. She is not going quietly, and what she said behind closed doors is about to leak. They chose clicks over championships. 7 simple words. That is all it took to start a civil war in women's basketball. Those words came directly from inside the Team USA program, from someone who was just cut. A player with Olympic gold hanging in her home. Those words were never meant to leave that room, but they did. Within hours, screenshots were circulating and private group chats were lighting up everywhere. Burner accounts started posting cryptic messages. The WNBA community was literally tearing itself apart. On one side, the veterans and their supporters were furious, claiming decades of sacrifice were being tossed aside for a marketing decision. On the other side, a new generation argued that evolution is often painful, but it is necessary. They argue that clinging to the past is how empires fall. Caught in the middle of this war is Caitlin Clark. She never asked for this. She never walked into USA Basketball headquarters and told them to choose her over the legends. But that did not matter. The narrative was already written. In this story, she was the villain who stole roster spots from the greats. Social media became a total battlefield. Hashtags emerged. Justice for Chelsea started trending everywhere. Protect the Legends followed soon after. Former players, silent for years, started posting thinly veiled shots at the team. One former Team USA guard, I will not say who, but you know her, posted a simple message. Loyalty used to mean something. Championships used to be the priority. Now it is all about selling jerseys. The implication was crystal clear. And the fans were losing it. Comment sections turned into war zones. Every WNBA post became a debate. Every highlight sparked an argument. Critics say Clark is not ready for international ball. Fans say she is the future. Team USA just spit on their own legacy, versus this is exactly what needed to happen. Back and forth, endless and exhausting. But here is what most people missed during the online fighting. Something was happening behind the scenes that would change everything. The cut players were not just upset, they were organizing. Private calls were being made across the league. Connections were being activated. Media contacts were being reached. A coordinated response was on the way. That response had one single goal: force USA Basketball to reverse their decision. Just think about that for a second. Players with gold medals and WNBA championships were actively working to undo those roster decisions. This was not just disappointment, it was a power move. They wanted meetings, they wanted explanations, they wanted accountability. And if they did not get it, they were ready to go fully public. Interviews, tell-alls, the whole thing. The tension around USA Basketball grew every single hour. But things were about to get truly wild. Cheryl Reeves saw the storm brewing. She anticipated the hate and prepped for the blowback with a clever countermove. It was a play so daring and sudden, it promised to silence every hater in a single presser. She was about to unveil a secret about the new Team USA strategy that no one ever saw coming. This tactical shift proved that the roster cuts weren't about hype or selling jerseys. They were strictly about winning. It came down to one specific offensive scheme that only works when Caitlin Clark is the one pulling the strings. Once the world witnessed Reeves' design, the narrative changed. This wasn't just some theory, it was a real game plan. This was the proof, yet some people still weren't convinced. Then, a legendary Hall of Famer entered the conversation with an explosive take that split the fan base right down the middle. A voice with massive influence. Someone capable of tipping the scales with just a few choice words. Her comments on Caitlin Clark and the players who didn't make the cut are going to leave you speechless. Diana Taurasi, the GOAT and the ultimate legend whose opinion matters most in women's basketball history. When she talks, everyone listens. Last week, she didn't use a publicist or a stiff press release. This wasn't some polished, corporate-prepared statement. She went live and raw, speaking her truth in a way that sent shockwaves through the entire WNBA universe. I've witnessed this game evolve for over 20 years. I've seen stars rise, veterans fade, and trends constantly change. I'm about to say something that will shock people. The interviewer leaned closer as the cameras pulled into focus. Everyone held their breath. This move might be exactly what Team USA needs. The room went completely silent. This was the same Diana Taurasi who once doubted if Caitlin Clark could even handle the WNBA. The icon who said rookies must earn respect, the face of the old guard that Diana Taurasi was now the one defending these cuts. Look, I love Chelsea and BG. These women are like sisters to me. We've survived wars together on the court. But pro basketball doesn't care about friendships. The international game really doesn't care about your history. She paused, and you could feel the heavy truth coming. I've studied the global scene. Spain is running schemes we can't stop, and France has snipers hitting shots from everywhere. Australia's ball movement is just insane. If we keep sending the same old roster and tactics, we are going to lose. It's that simple. The interviewer pushed her, but Diana, doesn't experience actually matter anymore? Does past success not count? Taurasi didn't blink. Experience only matters if it translates to the modern court. Success only matters if it's current. The game from 3 years ago is dead, and today's game will be gone by 2028. Then she dropped the bombshell that broke the internet. Caitlin Clark simply sees the game on another level. She processes plays faster than anyone I've ever seen. Plus, that deep three-pointer creates spacing that opens everything up. If I were building a squad for this modern era, I'd build it around her too. The legend had spoken, and the narrative shifted. Vocal veterans suddenly went silent. Haters who were screaming about disrespect started to reconsider their stance on the roster. Angry fans demanding changes began second-guessing themselves because of Diana Taurasi, the ultimate competitor and judge of talent. The most intense defender of the sport, a player who never backs down, was actually endorsing this new direction. Maybe Team USA knew exactly what they were doing after all. But not everyone was on board. Within hours of Taurasi's interview, another respected voice emerged. Someone with massive influence. This was a champion with true pedigree. Sue Bird, the legendary point guard and Diana's longtime friend and teammate. The woman who defined excellence at Chelsea Gray's position had a different take. I truly respect Diana's opinion, Bird said. I always will. But I think we're overlooking something vital here. Her voice was calm but incredibly firm. Basketball isn't just about raw talent or future potential. It's about team chemistry. It's about building real trust. It's about knowing that when the pressure is on and everything is at stake, your teammates have been there before. She let that point sink in. Caitlin Clark is incredible. No one is trying to deny that fact. But have we seen her in a must-win global matchup? Can she perform with gold on the line while hostile crowds scream in languages she can't understand? The question lingered. Experience isn't just a buzzword in international ball. Experience is your armor. And we just threw that armor away. Two absolute legends with two completely opposite perspectives. Diana Taurasi says the cuts were necessary. Sue Bird says they're premature. The WNBA world is now more divided than ever. While these icons argued in public, something far more vital was happening behind closed doors. The first Team USA training camp under the new system was kicking off. Day one would either prove the system right or expose a historic mistake. Caitlin Clark was about to take the court, and every eye in the world was watching. Colorado Springs, 18 players walked through those doors knowing only 12 would survive the final cut. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The tension was thick enough to cut. You felt it in the hallways and saw it in the sideways glances. You heard it in the quiet gaps between whispers. This was no ordinary training camp. This was a trial, a battle for the soul of American basketball. Everyone knew exactly who was under the microscope. Caitlin Clark arrived early. No entourage, no hype, just a gym bag in total focus. She knew exactly what was on the line. Every bucket would be studied. Every single bad pass would be ripped apart by the critics. Every second mattered. The weight of an entire program shift rested on her shoulders, even though she never asked for it. The first drill was simple. 5-on-5, first to 21. Coach Cheryl Reeve mixed the rosters, pairing veterans with the newcomers. Established stars met rising talents. She paired Caitlin Clark with Breanna Stewart, two different eras of dominance colliding. The proven champion and the revolutionary newcomer, working side by side. Every coach held their breath. That first possession was shaky. You could see the nerves all over the floor. Movement was clunky. Spacing was off. Clark pushed the ball up. Stewart set the screen. And the defense switched hard. Then magic happened. Clark spotted a passing lane that nobody else saw. A gap so tight, it seemed impossible to hit. She zipped the ball through 3 defenders, hitting Stewart perfectly in stride for an easy 2. Stewart gave a quick nod. That was it. But in that moment, the energy shifted. The next possession was much smoother. The third was pure electricity. By the 5th, they were in total sync. Clark's vision met Stewart's elite finishing. The floor opened up because defenders feared Clark's range. It was a masterclass in beautiful basketball. But cameras missed the real story. On the sideline, 2 stars who missed the cut were watching closely. Chelsea Gray and another veteran stood there. They were invited to watch as a courtesy, but their faces told a story words couldn't capture. Gray watched Clark command the floor. She watched the ball fly across the court with incredible speed. She saw plays develop that she used to control herself. For the first time, you could see it in her eyes. It wasn't acceptance, but it was understanding. This was different. This wasn't just a new guard in the old system. This was a total evolution. The pace was faster, and the spacing felt huge. The options were limitless. Clark wasn't just filling Chelsea Gray's shoes, she was redefining the whole position. By lunch, the rumors were flying. Did you see that transition pass? She buried 4 threes without even trying. Stewart looks rejuvenated. The spacing is unreal. Everyone finally has the room they need to make plays. But not everyone was happy. Some felt threatened. Some felt like they were being pushed aside. Their roles were vanishing. When one player becomes the engine, everyone else becomes a supporting part, and not everyone was ready to accept that new reality. By day 2, the heat returned. A sharp exchange broke out during the practice session. Voices were raised as coaches stepped in. Word from inside camp says a veteran player confronted Caitlin Clark directly. Nobody would confirm the details, but whatever was said left Clark looking rattled for the first time in camp. She seemed off. That night, she made one phone call that would change everything. She reached out to the one person who truly knew what she was going through, a true mentor, a legend who had walked this exact path decades ago. The advice she received gave her the perspective needed to handle the storm that was coming. The hardest part was just beginning. The phone rang 3 times before the legend finally picked up. Lisa Leslie, 4-time Olympic gold medalist, 3-time league MVPs, the first woman to dunk in a game, a pioneer who understood pressure better than anyone alive. "I was wondering when you would call," Leslie said. Clark sat alone in her hotel room. The night was silent, but the noise inside her head was deafening. "I don't know if I can do this," Clark confessed. It was the first time she admitted it out loud to anyone. Lisa Leslie didn't respond immediately. She just let the silence breathe. She understood that sometimes the most powerful thing is to let someone sit with their own fear. Then, she finally spoke. "Know what they said about me when I joined Team USA?" Clark listened. "Too young," they claimed. "Too green." They said I hadn't earned it yet, that I was stealing spots from veterans who deserved it more. The parallels were chilling. Whispers haunted the hallways. I felt every eye on me during every single practice drill. I knew half the locker room wanted me to fail just to prove they were right. Lisa paused. "And you know what?" Clark waited. "I showed up anyway. Every day, I outworked the entire room. I let my game drown out their loud, constant doubts. Eventually, the noise died down. Winning has a way of silencing the critics. Those words hit like a thunderclap. Caitlin, you're not there to win a popularity contest. You're not there to be their friend. You're there because you're the future of American basketball, and the future never apologizes for showing up." Clark felt a massive shift inside. "But they confronted me today," she whispered. One of the veterans said I'm why her friends got the axe. She said I didn't deserve to be the centerpiece of anything. Lisa Leslie's reply was instant. "Good." Clark was stunned. "Good, yes, good, because that means you're a threat. They know you're not just some temporary face in the crowd. It means they understand you're changing the entire game." Leslie's voice grew sharp and intense. "Let me tell you about professional basketball. The players who get targeted are the ones who actually matter. The ones getting criticized are the ones shifting the culture. Nobody wastes breath on someone who isn't a threat. Tears formed not from pain, but from pure relief. You weren't brought to Team USA just to blend in. You were brought here to lead. And leadership means eating the hate. It means carrying the whole weight. It means being the target so others can play free." Leslie's words would stay with Clark forever. "Tomorrow morning, you walk into that gym with your head held high. Do not apologize for being there. Never shrink to make others comfortable. Play your game, the game that brought you here, the game that's winning gold medals." Click. The line went dead. The call ended, but the spark was lit. Next morning, Caitlin Clark stepped into the training facility a different person. Same bag, same jersey, same shoes, but a completely different vibe. Players noticed immediately. The coaches saw it too. Everyone saw it. A new confidence took over. A quiet intensity that demanded respect without her having to say a word. First drill was a shooting contest. Deep threes under heavy pressure. Clark was the first to step up. Swish, again, swish, and again, swish, 7 straight from 30 feet out. Suddenly, the entire gym went dead silent. Brianna Stewart started clapping slowly, then louder. Io Wilson joined in. Then Sabrina Ionescu. Then Naf Fiza Collier. The veterans who doubted her didn't join the applause, but they definitely couldn't look away from her anymore. In that moment, the truth became undeniable. Caitlin Clark belonged. Not for the hype or social media, but for the basketball. Pure, undeniable basketball. But the drama wasn't finished yet. Not by a long shot. Later that afternoon, news broke that would shake the WNBA down to its very foundation. A cut player decided to go public. What she revealed would expose secrets Team USA never wanted the world to see. The interview went live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. No warning, no leaks, just a veteran player, a microphone, and 37 minutes of explosive, raw truth. The host was a legendary sports journalist, known for asking the hard questions and refusing to do puff pieces. And the guest? A player who gave everything to Team USA, her body, her time, and her life for that jersey. A player told she was no longer wanted. Her name stays hidden for legal reasons, but you know exactly who. It started calmly. Respectful questions about her legendary career and softball questions about her favorite Olympic memories. At the 11-minute mark, the vibe shifted. "I have to ask you directly," the journalist said. "How did you find out you were cut from the national team?" Silence. Then, she took a long breath. "I found out through a text message." The journalist froze. "A text?" "Yes, a text. After everything I gave this program, the gold medals, the sacrifices, the injuries I played through, I received a text message thanking me for my service." Her voice broke. No call from the coach, no meeting, not even a letter, just a text like I was being booted from a group chat, viral instantly. But that wasn't even the bombshell. At the 23-minute mark, the journalist asked about the new Team USA direction. There is a lot of talk about rebuilding with younger players and changing the system. How do you feel about that? The player's face hardened. "Look, I understand that the game of basketball always evolves. New talent always pops up, but nobody is saying the quiet part out loud." She leaned in. This wasn't about basketball at all. This was a pure business move. The tension was thick. "I've seen the papers. I know exactly which meetings went down. The choice was locked in months before anyone even touched the court. They knew who was getting cut before camp even started." The reporter pressed. "Was the roster already decided?" "I'm saying specific players never stood a chance, no matter how hard they played or what kind of heat they brought to the camp. The decision was already final." She paused. "And I'm telling you, this was driven by things that have zero to do with winning games." The implications were absolutely massive. Was she suggesting marketing ran the show? Was she implying USA basketball picked popularity over actual performance? The journalist asked the obvious question. "Can you tell us exactly what factors you are talking about?" The player went quiet. You could see her weighing the cost of whatever she said next. "Look at it this way. When a rookie who hasn't won anything internationally becomes the face of your entire program over players with a bag full of gold medals, you have to ask what really matters most." She never mentioned Caitlin Clark by name. She didn't have to. Everyone watching knew exactly who she meant. The interview ended with a plea. "I don't want a spot. That's over. But I want the truth. I want total honesty. I want the basketball world to see what's actually happening behind those closed doors." In hours, it had 15 million views. USA Basketball called the claims completely baseless in a formal statement. They swore every roster pick was based on current talent and what the team needed to win. But the damage was done. The questions were everywhere. Every sports talk show was tearing the controversy apart. Legends started picking sides in public. And, right in the middle of it all, again, was Caitlin Clark. She hadn't done a thing wrong. She never asked for favors or tried to take anyone's spot, but now she looked like the favorite in a rigged game. The pressure was getting out of hand. Then, something happened that absolutely nobody could have seen coming. Caitlin Clark asked for a private sit-down with Coach Cheryl Reeve, just the two of them. What happened inside would decide the future of Team USA, and the future of Caitlin Clark's career on the world stage. The door shut. Just two people. Coach Reeve behind her desk. Caitlin in the chair. No cameras, no distractions, no assistants and no witnesses. What happened next stayed secret for weeks, but insiders eventually leaked the details. It wasn't what anyone expected. Clark spoke first. "I need the truth." Reeve didn't blink. She'd been waiting for this since the story broke. "What truth are you looking for?" Clark's voice was heavy. "Did you pick me for my game or for the hype?" The ratings, the jersey sales, the clicks. She stopped. Because if this is about marketing, I am out. I didn't show up to be a brand. I came here to win. Reeve watched the young star. This was the moment that would define their whole relationship. This was the moment where trust would either grow or die. She reached into her desk and pulled out a heavy folder. Do you know what this is? Clark shook her head. This is every stat we ran on every candidate, every film breakdown, and every single scouting report we have. She slid it across. Open it. Clark opened the folder. Pages and pages of data, charts, graphs, and heat maps. On nearly every single sheet, one name sat right in that top tier. I've been coaching for over 20 years, Reeves said. I have won championships. I've built superstars. I've made calls that ended careers and started new ones. Her voice was rock solid, and I'm telling you, this choice had zero to do with ratings or jersey sales. She pointed at the data. This was about one thing: winning the 2028 Olympics at home. Clark felt her chest tighten. The world game has changed, Reeves said. Teams are faster and smarter now. The days where we could win just on our name are over. She leaned in. I needed a player who could pull up from 30 feet and score. I needed a player who sees the floor before the pass even exists, someone who can play at world speed. Reeves stared deep into Clark's eyes. I needed you. Not your followers or your brand. Just you. Silence filled the room. Clark scanned the folder. The data was impossible to ignore. Endless pages of basketball stats pointed to one truth: she belonged. But what about the veterans? Clark whispered. The girls who got cut. They sacrificed everything. Reeve nodded slowly. Yes, I know they did. I will carry the weight of those cuts for the rest of my career. Every call I made shattered me. Her voice softened. But my job isn't about rewarding the past. I must build for the future, and that requires brutal choices. She rose and paced toward the window. Chelsea Gray is among the finest guards I have ever coached. Brittany Griner is a once-in-a-generation talent. Every cut player deserves our gratitude. She turned to Clark. But respect doesn't guarantee a spot on this roster. Not when the world is getting better every day. Clark let it sink in. So, what is it you want from me? Reeve pulled a new document from her desk. A single page with a simple drawing. An offensive scheme. I need you to master this system. I want you to own it. Make it yours. Clark leaned in to examine the diagram. It was unlike any strategy she had seen. Spacing, movement, and logic trees all flowing through her position. This is the blueprint, Reeves said. This is why we did it. This is the future of American basketball. Clark stared at the paper. Then she met her eyes. When do we start? Reeves finally managed a smile. We already have. The meeting stretched for an hour. Logistics were finalized, clear expectations were set. A new trust was born. When Clark left that room, the world looked different to her. She was no longer just a rookie. She was the cornerstone of a basketball revolution. But outside, the storm was growing. A new crisis was about to ignite. That cut player who gave the interview? She just escalated the fight. She officially filed a complaint against USA Basketball. Now, she was demanding a full federal investigation. The formal complaint hit the desk at 9:14 a.m. on a Thursday morning. 14 pages of single-spaced fury. The allegations inside were absolutely explosive. Rigged selection procedures, bias, and a failure to follow the rules. The most damaging claim? Discrimination based on basketball irrelevant factors. The team had 72 hours to respond. Leadership instantly hit the panic button. Attorneys were summoned. Emergency board meetings were held behind closed doors. PR teams drafted statements that were scrapped 17 times before noon. This was far more than a complaint. This was an existential threat to the program. If these claims held up, the fallout would be catastrophic. Roster spots could be reversed. The entire coaching staff could be removed. Sponsors could walk away. Preparation for the 2028 Olympics was suddenly in jeopardy. At the heart of the chaos was one question. Was Caitlin Clark's selection legitimate? The media storm was fierce and relentless. Every sports channel led with the news. Every talk show debated the legal fallout. Social media erupted. Former stars who had stayed quiet were now shouting their opinions online. "I have been saying this for months," one legend posted. "The whole process felt wrong. We need real accountability." Another wrote that the program had lost its soul. But the backlash was coming. Active players who were in camp and saw Clark play with their own eyes began to fight back. Brianna Stewart posted a clear message. "I was at every practice. I saw every single drill. The right squad is here." Aja Wilson was even more blunt. "Stop attacking someone who did nothing wrong. Focus on the gold." Sabrina Ionescu shared a practice photo with Clark. "My teammate. My point guard. Let us get to work." The basketball world was divided. Pressure on the organization reached a boiling point. Secretly, an urgent investigation was launched. Every email was read, every meeting was scrutinized, every text was analyzed. They had to prove the selection was fair, transparent, and based strictly on elite talent. And they had to prove it immediately. 3 days later, the response dropped. A 47-page report, incredibly detailed and legally airtight. It listed every metric and statistical analysis used during the trials. It documented every film session and evaluation form before ending with a final undeniable statement of the facts. Every roster spot was earned through current skill, future potential, and the strategic vision for this new Olympic squad. External noise had no place in our selection. These baseless claims are completely without merit, and we deny them entirely. Lawyers for the players called the answer weak and vague, but the public felt differently. The stats simply did not lie. The facts were there. The basketball logic was impossible to ignore. Slowly, the public narrative started to change course. Angry critics finally began to back off. News outlets that once fueled the fire started reporting with a lot more balance. Online trolls started scrubbing their history and deleting hate posts. Still, a few skeptics remained in the shadows. Some minds will never change, but the momentum shifted for good when something happened that killed nearly every lingering doubt. Team USA booked a massive exhibition showdown against France. This was the same French squad that nearly beat America recently. They represented every fear USA basketball had about the global game. This was way more than an exhibition. This was a statement. It was time to prove this roster and this new tactical direction were exactly what the program needed. A chance for Caitlin Clark to finally dominate on the world stage. The date was locked in. The venue was secured. TV deals were final. 15,000 fans were coming in person, while millions more watched globally, all asking the same thing. Could Caitlin Clark actually handle this pressure? Could she justify all those controversial coaching calls? Could she prove she truly belonged out there? The answer was coming, and it would reshape women's basketball history forever. It was game night, and the air was electric. 15,000 fans filled every seat as American flags waved. Chants echoed off the high rafters. But make no mistake, this wasn't a party yet. This was a trial by fire. Every eye in the building and millions watching at home focused on one thing. Was Team USA right? France brought pure swagger. No fear and zero hesitation. They had waited years for this. For a long time, the world told them they weren't good enough. For too long, they were dismissed as just another stepping stone. They watched America celebrate while they went home with nothing. Not today. France had sharpshooters who could go toe-to-toe with anyone. They had ball handlers who could tear apart any defense. Their entire system was built to exploit American weaknesses. They were vulnerable. A new roster, a fresh system, and chemistry that had never faced real, suffocating pressure. This was the moment. France won the opening tip and immediately pushed the pace. Fast break, sharp passes, and a wide-open three from the wing. Swish. France 3. USA 0. The crowd went dead silent. Team USA brought it up. The new offense was debuting on the world's biggest stage, and Caitlin Clark was at the controls. She crossed half court, scanned the defense, and barked out the play. Spacing was flawless. 5 players spread across the hardwood. Driving lanes opened up everywhere. Shooters stood ready at every angle. Clark drove hard right, pulled two defenders, and kicked it. Sabrina Ionescu was wide open. Swish. Tied at 3. The crowd breathed, but France struck back immediately. Another break. Another fast 3. France 6, USA 3. One thing was certain: this was going to be a war. For 12 minutes, nobody could pull away. Every bucket was answered. Every run was countered. France was fast, disciplined, and totally fearless. Team USA was finding a rhythm, but things were still shaky. Passes were a bit off, and the timing felt inconsistent. They were still learning the system. Then, with 4 minutes left in the half, the whole vibe shifted. France caught fire. A brutal 11-2 run silenced the entire arena. The French point guard started carving up the defense. Their shooters simply wouldn't miss. Their energy was suffocating. France 34, USA 23. Down 11 at home against the world's biggest threat. Critics were already typing out their nasty headlines. "I told you so." This happens when you dump veteran experience. Caitlin Clark just can't handle the pressure. Coach Reeves signaled for a timeout. The Americans huddled together, looking tense as doubt began to creep in. But one player didn't flinch. Caitlin Clark stood in that huddle with pure fire in her eyes. "Give me the ball," she demanded. "Every possession, just give me the ball." Reeves stared at her young guard. This was the moment that justified everything. She nodded. "Run the play through Clark. Everyone else, space out and move." The timeout was over. Team USA hit the hardwood. What happened next would go down in history. Clark brought it up, and France swarmed her. 2 defenders, sometimes 3. No panic. First play, a step-back 3 from 28 feet right over 2 defenders. Swish. France 34, USA 28. Next trip down, she drove the lane and pulled in 4 defenders. A no-look dime to Wilson for an easy layup. France 34, USA 28. Then, another 3 from 31 feet. Swish. France 34, USA 31. Fans were screaming. The stadium was literally shaking. Magic was in the air. France had to call timeout. They were shook. But Caitlin Clark wasn't finished. In those final 3 minutes of the half, she scored or assisted on every single U.S. bucket. 12 points, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. By the half, the score was dead even. USA 41, France 41. That locker room was pure electricity. Players were hyped. Coaches were buzzing. The entire vibe had shifted. Breanna Stewart stepped up to Clark and gripped her shoulders. "This is exactly why you are here," she whispered. "Right where you belong." That second half was absolute poetry. The new Team USA system finally snapped into place. Perfect spacing opened up shots everywhere. Their relentless pace gassed the French defense. The ball movement was just pure art. At the heart of it all stood Caitlin Clark. She closed out with 29 points, 14 assists, and 0 turnovers. Final score, USA 94, France 71. A 23-point blowout against a team meant to expose American flaws. As that final buzzer echoed, Clark stood alone at midcourt. The entire arena was chanting her name. Her teammates swarmed her, but she stayed calm. No chest pounding, no screaming at cameras, just total, quiet focus. A simple smile was enough. She knew this was more than a win. This was validation. Every snub, every doubt, and every critic led right here. Team USA finally found its future. And honestly, that future is only getting started. At the post-game presser, Coach Reed faced questions about her roster. She just smiled. "I think the basketball spoke for itself tonight." Somewhere, watching from their couches, the snubbed veterans saw the truth. A brand new era of hoops had officially arrived. It was messy. It was controversial. It broke hearts for some, but it was undeniably the right move. Caitlin Clark didn't just earn her jersey. She proved she was born to lead this squad. The 2028 Olympics are 3 years away. For the first time in ages, Team USA wasn't just feeling confident. America looked truly dangerous again. So I have to ask, was Team USA right? Did they pull off the ballsiest, smartest decision in the program's history? Or did they cross a line they shouldn't have? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. If this story hit home, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The WNBA drama honestly never sleeps. Until next time,